Hey guys! So yet another video of me in the same outfit. Sorry if that bothers you, but I got things to do. So this video is going to be all about my earlobe reconstruction. And the reason I wanted to make this is because I feel like my other ones, I didn't put all the information I could have in those videos, and I kind of wanted to combine everything, so I have like the vlog of me getting it, and then I have a 1-year update, or like I kind of just want to put all of it in one video, so if anyone out there is thinking about getting it done, they don't have to watch like a ton of videos. They can just watch this one and of course do more research on their own, but this is my experience, so I wanted to put it all in one place. Okay, I like organization and I'm trying to clean up my channel. I've got all these notes here, so let's see. I'm gonna start with why I got my earlobes closed. So I don't really know how to put it. I very much like the way they look on me from the side, and I very much like the whole body modification community. I liked being a girl with plugs, and not even in like a way that I'm sure some guys think, but I just genuinely liked them, and they weren't super common. They still really aren't at the size that I was. Not that that matters, but I felt like myself. So I eventually got up to 1 3/4 inches, which is almost 2 inches, and that's very large, especially for me because I have a very small head. So in all my videos where I have my plugs or my stretched ears, people always comment, "No way your ears are that size." When my ears were that size, they looked way smaller. I have a very small head, so, you know, 1 inch on me looked gigantic. And that's just how it is. Everyone's body is different. So yeah, so that's how big I got. I did downsize twice. So the first time I downsized, I think all the way to 1/2 inch, which to me is pretty tiny. I know some people would never even go past a 00, but to me 1/2 inch was tiny. And I liked it for a little bit, but then I felt like they just didn't fit me, and I felt uncomfortable. So then I went back up to, I think, 1.5 inches, and I loved them for a while, but I don't know if something changed in my face or just my body. Maybe I gained weight in my face, but I hated the way they looked from the front. So a lot of people, maybe I think it's just because of the way my ears are. So I'm going to use my lens cap as a visual for you. So from the side they looked like this, loved it, still love it, and looking at this now and kind of wishing I still had them. But from the front, because my ears kind of stick out, they also stuck out like this. Which didn't bother me when I had some of my cuter plugs, which had like the big crystals in them, but I felt a little dumb. I'm not gonna lie. From the side I was all about it, but from the front, not so much. A lot of people, if you get really big, it like hits against your jaw or your neck and it has to stick out, but I felt like I wasn't there yet because it wasn't really touching my face. It was just the way my ear is. So a lot of people who are at my size, theirs kind of just laid, and I wanted mine to look like that, and they didn't. So that was kind of one of the biggest reasons that I got them taken, that I took them out, because I was like, you know what, it's just not working. I don't like the way smaller sizes look on me, and this just, I feel insecure looking from the front. I started thinking about it and kind of weighing the pros and cons. So some of the cons for having stretched ears for me, aside from the stares and like the aggressive comments from mainly dudes or older women, was they were always cold. I have really bad circulation. That's just how I am. My hands are always ice cold, my nose is always ice cold, and my ears are always ice cold. And having such a big surface area of earlobe made them even colder because, you know, it's very common for people to lose their earlobes because they lose circulation entirely, which I can make another video on if you're interested in, but basically, having stretched lobes was not beneficial for my circulation, and I already knew that was an issue I had. And I hated being cold. I used to wear these, I called them muffins, or my friend called them muffins, and then I started calling them muffins. They're like earmuffs, but they only covered your plug. It was like a little sock. And I wanted to wear them year-round. That's how cold my lobes were all the time. So I was like, you know what, this isn't even worth it. Half the plugs I want are way too expensive, and the ones that I can afford don't look that great, and to me looked kind of tacky. So I was like, that's it, I'm getting them out. I took them out for like maybe a month or two, and didn't really bother me. I don't mind the look of saggy earlobes. I know a lot of people hate it, but I kind of liked it. Then a lot of stuff went on in my life, kind of got distracted, and didn't even think about looking for someone. And then I think in December I found someone on Instagram and messaged him, and he told me pricing and all that, and I was able to make an appointment for the following May. So before we get into all of that, that's why I decided to do it. It's something I think you should really think about, because if you're not happy, then, you know, you can't really stretch again when you get your earlobes closed, because there's way less skin typically to work with. Some people have really fatty earlobes and maybe they can do it, but I certainly cannot. Because I have such small earlobes, and I always have, he thought I had scalpeled my ears so that I can get them as big as I did, because there was zero room against like the cartilage part and my plug. It looked like it was scalpeled all the way up there, and it wasn't. That's just how my earlobes have always been. They were kind of pierced high, I guess, and one thing led to another, and that's just what my earlobes looked like. So I certainly would never be able to stretch again. So now I'm going to talk about the places you can go. You can go to a plastic surgeon, or you can go to a body modification artist, specialist, whatever you want to call them. I went to a body mod guy, and I found him on Instagram by searching earlobe reconstruction, and I was just searching for people who were in my area. There aren't that many people who do it, and if they do, most of them travel. They don't really have like a shop, and there are reasons for that, which we'll get into. So I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of getting a body mod artist or specialist, whatever, versus a plastic surgeon. So in my experience, the body mod artist, a body mod artist likely has done it way more times than a plastic surgeon. Plastic surgeons very commonly do normal earlobe reconstructions, which is like, you know, they had earrings that just like ripped through their ear or something. There are a lot of horror stories about plastic surgeons just destroying stretched ears, because some of them just kind of sew them together without cutting off the skin, and you can tell. A friend of mine had his done by a plastic surgeon, and you can tell. It looks like he has stretched lobes and just glued them together on the inside instead of like getting rid of all the excess and stuff. So that's something you need to research. There are some plastic surgeons who know what they're doing, but it is more likely that a body mod person will have done it more and have more knowledge on what to do. In my experience with the research that I did, my body mod artist was way more affordable than a plastic surgeon. I believe, and I'm going to have to look through my video to double check, but I believe it cost me $450 or $500 to get both of my ears done together. And the quotes I was seeing for plastic surgeons were up to $1,500. Some were way more. I do live in New York, where lots of prices for things are inflated, so that could be part of it, but that was something I wasn't willing to do, because I couldn't even find before and after photos of stretched lobes. They were just regular earlobes. So I was like, I'm not spending that much money for someone who might not have experience with what I need. Another thing, so here's a con for the body mod artists. They are harder to find. There's not one in every piercing shop. If you have one in your area, you're lucky. I know there are a few that travel, and I can leave their Instagram down below if you are looking for someone. I'm sure they're pretty booked out, but if it's something you want done and you want done right, I think it's worth the wait to get it done by one of them. My guy, thankfully, was in New York State. He was in Brooklyn, I believe. Yeah, it just kind of worked out. Because most of them don't have their own place and they travel, you might not be able to get it done for a while. And that's kind of annoying. And I totally get if that's something that you don't want to wait for. Something else that's a con. They legally aren't allowed to do a lot of things, and in a lot of states, sometimes it's totally illegal to do any body modification like that, like splitting a tongue. All that stuff is illegal in some places, so they have to be on the down low, and then they don't advertise, and it's like a thing. That makes it hard to find them, and it also, for me, made it feel a little sketchy because I felt like I wasn't protected. Even though I don't think it's illegal in New York, it's definitely not something that's advertised. Another thing they legally cannot do, from my understanding, is give you the anesthesia, which they inject into your earlobe, or numbing agent, whatever you want to call it. He did it on me, and as he was doing it, he was like, hey, this never happened. If anyone asks, this never happened. So they can get in trouble because they, I guess, aren't licensed to do it. It was a local anesthetic, so blah blah blah. That's something that maybe for some people would make it so that they're only going to a plastic surgeon because they don't even want to risk it, which is understandable, but for me it wasn't a thing. Something else, if you're going to a body mod person, you have to tip them. At least in the United States, that's just a custom. There's not really much else I can say about that. A plastic surgeon has their price and that's it. You don't usually tip your doctor, right? So that's not a thing, but when you're getting a service done in an industry like body modification, you should tip. So another thing, because a lot of them travel or are like fully booked and stuff, you might have to take out your own stitches. I had to, which didn't bother me. I thought it was fun and I like that kind of thing, but some people will be squeamish about that, and that's fine. I get it, but that might be a con for some people, so that's why I figured I would mention it. And the price that I've seen for body mod people depends on who you are and what your ears look like, as well as how long it will take. Mine took a very long time because I had such little skin to work with. He was kind of stressing. I know some people has taken like a half hour to do each ear, some people like a half hour for the whole thing. For me it took like 2 hours for the whole thing. I didn't mind. I wasn't expecting it, but I didn't feel anything the whole time, and that's all I really cared about. So before I get into other stuff, I want to move on to some stuff about plastic surgeons that I've read about. So some pros, they're more available. They might not necessarily be as experienced. You might find one that is, but there are plastic surgeons everywhere. You're more likely to find one than a body mod artist, just by doing like a Google search in your area that you don't have to travel super far to. Another pro, they can use anesthesia or a local one and it's not a problem. They're also in a more sterile environment. Not that the guy I went to wasn't sterile, but being in a medical office is probably a little bit different. I don't know, to me personally there aren't that many pros for a plastic surgeon, but that is totally an opinion thing. The cons, they're way more expensive. All the ones I saw in my area started at like $1,500. And that, in my opinion, is a lot. I know that you're paying for the doctor and the nurse and the anesthesia, but because of the before and after photos that I was seeing, I wasn't comfortable paying that price. It didn't make sense to me. So yeah, if you're gonna go do a plastic surgeon, make sure to research and ask to see before and after photos. If they don't have it on their website and you have a consultation with them and they're like, oh yeah, I've done it, ask for those photos because it could be bad. Just because I've done it doesn't mean it looks good. Now I want to go on to what the procedure was like. Because mine took so long, he did inject my earlobes with a numbing thing. I think it was lidocaine, but it probably wasn't. And because he did that, I was numb the whole time he was doing the procedure. I was nervous about flipping over when he would do the other ear, if it was going to hurt laying on this one. Because it did take so long, I didn't think anesthesia was going to last during, you know, getting the other ear done. But it did. So let me tell you. First, he kind of drew everything out and figured out where he wanted to make his cuts. He told me they would probably be uneven because they were already uneven. One was naturally very small compared to the other. You can't really tell. I notice because I can feel, but it's barely noticeable and I don't really care. Laid me down, cut out a little thing of paper and like wrapped it around my ear in case I bled. And then he injected me. It didn't really hurt. If you're afraid of needles and stuff, you might have a problem with it, but I'm not, and it didn't bother me at all. It did feel weird though because he kind of scrunched it through my ear, like, man, I don't know how to describe it. Like if this is the needle and this is my earlobe, he kind of went in and then pushed it all through so that he got like every section of my lobe, which felt weird, but it was fine. Before he started, he took his little knife and touched me and was like, do you feel that? Do you feel that? I didn't, so he started. Didn't feel any of it. I was bleeding a little bit, my mom said, because she wanted to come, and I don't think it was that bad. The weirdest part for me was when I got the stitches in, because you hear the whole thing and it just sounds like you're being sawed. But it didn't hurt, I didn't feel it, it just sounded funny. Then he did the other ear, and I feel like it's important to mention I was feeling really shitty that day. I had a migraine. If you have migraines, you know they can be pretty debilitating, so I really didn't want to go, but I was like, I'll never get an appointment again. So I was in pain up here, and maybe that exaggerated the pain I felt afterwards. I can't really say for sure, but on the drive home, it was about an hour drive home, I was feeling the pain. And I had a migraine, and I was just felt so swollen, even though they really didn't get swollen. It felt really shitty to me. And I know a lot of people were totally fine and like barely sore, but I was very sore. It was kind of hard, but it wasn't unbearable. My migraine was worse than the pain of my ears. Aftercare was pretty basic. Keep it clean. He told me to use saline, but that's about it. It wasn't anything crazy. He gave me a headband to use, like a cloth headband to keep my hair out of it when I slept. So I did that, which was good. He gave me these little plastic headbands to wear in the shower so it would cover my ears. It kind of like had elastic on both sides and then cupped them. So that was good because he said it would be best to keep them dry. But yeah, aftercare was really simple. I was sore for about a week. It wasn't unbearable, but it was noticeable. Oh, I did go to work the next day, and I wore my hair down to cover it, but no one noticed. And I don't know. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't that painful that I couldn't go to work. If you have a job where you might get some kind of dirt in your ears, like if you're might accidentally, you know, tuck your hair behind your ears and then there's dirt in there. I wouldn't go to work the first day or maybe get those ear covers. So I'm going to insert the amount of time it took for me to start having my stitches fall out, but yeah, I'm going to insert it, but he told me after a certain amount of time I can remove them. He recommended having someone else do it, but I like that kind of thing, and I'm pretty good with my hands, so I felt comfortable doing it. And I would say the closer it got to the time to remove my stitches, the more irritating they became, because as they're in there, they get harder and it feels tighter on your ear, and it kind of feels sharp on the inside. So as I was taking them out, it was like a relief. Every time I got a little piece out, I was like, yes! It took me a minute to get them all out because some of them were kind of stuck in there, like not even stuck in there, that it was just the knots were so close to my skin that I couldn't really move it, and then I was confused about if I cut that knot, could I pull it on this side? It was like a little messy. Not that he did it badly, because my scars look beautiful, like so neat you can't even tell. He did an amazing job. The way he cut my ears, he did it like an artist. Like he put it together like a puzzle and made them look like normal ears. They are very tiny, yes, but a lot of people never would guess that I have had my ears stretched. I went on a date last year, and the first thing I said to him was about his ears, and so I mentioned, yeah, mine were 1.5 inches or whatever, and he was shocked that I got mine sewn up because they look great. Sleeping was hard just because I'm very aggressive in my sleep and I roll my head around a lot, but it was only for the first like 3 or 4 days that it was really annoying, and then I kind of got used to it. So now I'm going to insert pictures of what they look like. I don't know how close I can get to this where it'll focus. So hopefully you can see, but I barely have any scar. My ear, it does look dimpled almost. That's just something my ear has always looked like, even when I had stretched lobes. I just have always had like little creases here and there. I did pierce my ears, and I wear earrings all the time. My scar goes down and across, almost like a capital T. And I feel like that's why it looks so natural, because the scar kind of goes with the natural crease that I already have. And you know, this little bit is my ear. Like, there's no scar here. I just have a weird ear. And then this one was the smaller lobe. I'm sorry if my makeup looks a mess. So this one I feel like you could tell a little more just because the crease is kind of deep. But I feel like that looks natural. And when I stretch it out, you can't really see the scar. I can't feel the scar. It's all I can really feel is my new hole for my jewelry. And that's like amazing to me, because when I was touching it after I had gotten the stitches out and I was like trying to massage them, they were very hard, and I was expecting them to be hard forever. I was like, cool, I'm just gonna have a bunch of scar tissue, but he did such a good job. I don't want to mention his name in this video because I did mention that he did some things that might get him in trouble. So the final thing I want to talk about is regret. Personally, I don't really regret it, and the reason I say that is because when I got them, the first thing I asked him was if it would be possible to just have them sewn up to like a 0, and he said it wouldn't be. I've seen it done, but I guess he just wasn't comfortable doing that because of the way my ears are, which is fine. I trusted him, and I'm glad that I did get them closed up all the way, but I do miss them, and I will always miss them. I love that I get to wear all these cute earrings now, and I'm excited about, I don't know, I'm more comfortable looking head on with people, and I'm not following their eyes to my ears, because half the time people would have conversations with me and just stare at my earlobes, and I hated that. It's something you really need to think about, because you might regret it, and it's not something that can really be reversed unless you have super meaty earlobes, but I certainly cannot, and I'm okay with it. I am. I think they suit me much better. I'm pleased. I'm really pleased. So, I think that covers everything. I'm going to try my best to insert like little notes if I forgot anything, but I'm pretty sure that's it. So if you're getting your earlobes reconstructed soon, good luck. If you're getting it done, good luck. Let me know how it goes if you decided to go with a plastic surgeon or a body mod person. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.